Okay.
Alrighty, with that, it is 6:07 on April 25th, and I will call this meeting to order, or this work session. If you'd all join me for a flag salute. Oh, I guess I should do that roll call. Do that afterwards. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just to follow up, are we streaming then? We are, yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll do roll call. Bill? Here. Christy? Here. Crystal? Here. Heidi?
Here.
Richard?
Here.
And Ricardo informed me earlier that he was not going to be present. So we have a quorum and we will continue on. So tonight's a work session. First thing we're going to start out with is just kind of we've got some new numbers, and so a little bit of review on policy BG. It seems to be prescient for where we're at right now. And then some school board operating agreements. I didn't know if you had points you wanted to touch on school board operating agreements.
Oh, just some
I'll-
reminders, yeah.
Okay,
And some, a question for the board to
Okay.
ponder, not to answer it tonight, but just to think about.
sure. So just a review on policy BG. I think you guys have it in the packet here.
Yeah.
Looks like you do. It covers board staff communications. Given that we're actively in negotiations right now, I guess this stems from us being actively in negotiations. And officially, when we're inside of the confines of negotiations, we need to be cognizant of communication that's coming from staff. It's a protection for us, it's a protection for them. Both sides of that negotiation have agreed to negotiate in a certain fashion. We've agreed to terms of engagement. And it's really best if we follow those terms of engagement. I've done a lot of research and talking to people, and that produces the best outcome. It produces the best way forward, and the cleanest way forward. And it doesn't produce animosity where people are having side conversations that may or may not be what the board's intent or wishes are. Obviously, as a board, we speak as one. We vote as one, and so in reviewing that, I would just call that all board communication from staff to board needs to flow through Ginger. That's our conduit to staff, and so that it especially in these confines. I understand we're a small district, everybody's friends, but when it pertains to school, that's the policy that we're under, and that's really what we need to stick to. I don't know, do you have more to add to that?
Yeah, it's as people become less comfortable, when you're in a point of tension, you're not sure what to do, people aren't sure what to do. Because people tend to react from their heart and caring for other people and wanting to help. And in a situation where things aren't clear because we have a group of people who have elected people who are responsible for speaking for them. And then we have the community board members who are responsible for speaking for the community. And when the two of them are negotiating on things, we can't work outside of that. We always have to think about, are we talking directly to the people that we're supposed to be speaking with? There are certain people that are on the committee. Those are the people that we're supposed to talk to. Outside of that, having conversations with people is outside of our agreement of how we're supposed to operate in an environment. That doesn't mean we don't listen. That doesn't mean we don't participate. We just don't engage. And then likewise for the board, being cautious about following the protocols, that if there's something that should be communicated to the staff, or there's something that, in that flow of information, according to policy, it comes through me to the staff, that we don't go directly to the staff. So when opportunities come up that you weren't part of and part of the planning, it just happened to appear in front of you, it wouldn't be a correct thing to do to engage in that kind of activity because it violates the policies. And it also doesn't really respect the rules of engagement of what we're supposed to do. There's also a board member who has been selected by the board to represent the board in negotiations, and that is the key person for communication and questions about how things are going and what needs to be done. So that's just some clarification about that. You'll probably start to receive more emails on a regular basis and see more actions and activities, partially designed to gain public support for positions. So along that, you might be receiving more emails during that time. And that was one of the things that I wanted to review in the board agreements that we had. We have in our operating agreements, but a couple of things, and then I have a question for you about that. When I think about the school board norms, operating agreements about communication, let's start under F, item F, so the second to the last page. That there's some guidelines there. It would be great to review that on your own to see if you have any questions about it. If you should, as a whole, receive an email to the entire board, it's a different response process than if you receive one as an individual. If you receive one to the entire board, the board chair responds on behalf of the board, and then you can follow on afterwards. But there's a process for that, so I just wanted everyone to review that. And then there's a little bit of a gray area when it comes to number 9. Because in this age, it's very easy for someone to send the same question to all board members without all the board members knowing that it occurred, which is basically sending an email to the entire board. So the question is, how would you like to close that gap? So that you are aware when someone has sent an email to the entire board, because you won't see that if you're not copied on it. It could be a BCC. You may not even know where the email is originated from. So my suggestion is when you receive an email, that you either let Glenn know what the content of the email is when you received it, and then we can check to see if a similar or identical email was sent to all the other board members, just for your information. Like I said, you might expect to start receiving more. So if you do, it may be more efficient and easier to track if you know how many, who else was it sent to, and that will help you with your communication. So not everyone is repeating, taking the time, having 7 people respond to the same exact email differently because they didn't know the other 6 people had received it. So I'm not exactly sure how you want to handle that. I don't need an answer today, but I'd like you to think about that so that we can put that down, have that in writing, and follow that protocol. So that's basically it.
Yeah, I'll just follow up. So with us having board representation, if you have specific questions, Heidi, I don't want to speak for you, but Heidi, I'm assuming you're not opposed to corresponding on specific questions since you're there in sitting in on negotiations. Would that be a fair assessment, Heidi?
Yes, I'm attending pretty much all of the meetings. And I have been, as you know, whether in executive session or reaching out to you individually with answers, I'm trying to keep the board updated on the tone and discussions that are happening in negotiations. Also, board members are free to listen in on negotiation meetings. Ginger can give you those links, I believe. And I also believe they're recorded and available to review. If I would be happy to discuss one-on-one any questions anybody has about where we are currently at with that. Yeah.
Thanks, Heidi. And I guess to follow up on that, if the need arises for executive session, we certainly can do it after any of our regular scheduled meetings. So, you know, if there's more information needed, if there's more input that you feel like you need, we can certainly do that, because I'd rather have more communication than less, or have a gray area exist where somebody needs specific clarification on things. So.
Question, Glenn. This is Richard.
Sure.
Has it been kind of the standard practice that if the chair or whoever's representing the board in negotiating sessions is responding to questions on behalf of the entire board, that the board is included in that communication?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
So at the beginning of negotiations, both sides worked out kind of operating agreements for how we would conduct these negotiations. And it was agreed that we would both have a spokesperson. The UNME has their spokesperson, and we have Lisa Freely acting on our behalf. So really Lisa is our spokesperson. And then when we caucus or we meet as a management team, I represent the board in those meetings, relaying to Lisa our concerns or anything that we might want to have her be aware of or that we need to be aware of. But during actual negotiations, it's Lisa who is speaking for the board and for the district.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks, Heidi. I was just, I guess, responding specifically to this conversation we're having about email responses on behalf of the entire board. And what I'm hearing is sort of a no surprises policy, which I agree with. I just think it would be helpful if, for example, Glenn is responding to a question from a member of the public on behalf of the entire board, that the board be included, just so that we're also aware of what the response is from the board, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't want to be a burden about that, for sure. But, if it's easy, if there's a way to do it without being, a huge burden, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, as with all things, reply all is can get you in a quorum rather quickly. So, one-way communication, if you have clarification, on things going out, by all means, reach out to me individually. Does that clarify?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. Moving along to our policy, public continuation discussion or review of
Yes.
January stuff.
Yes, this is the first reading, so there's no pressure for everyone. And I want to bring to your attention something that we added. It's right after BG. And it gives you a very, very brief overview, synopsis, and it also includes the historical data. And this is the thickness of the policy work. This time it has the past and the present. So we'll just go through these one at a time. Policy DH is about loss coverage. The policy used to be titled bonded employees and officers, and now it's called loss coverage because it's beyond the scope of just bonded employees and officers. And as you can see, we adopted it in '88. And for some reason, I think I have a typo here, it should be 94, not 84. We adopted in 94. And then it was revised again in 2022. And basically, the rationale is the title change reflects the larger scope of loss coverage and includes up-to-date terminology and practices. And my recommendation is that we strike the existing language, except for the last sentence. The last sentence in our current policy reads, any person who is not bondable will not be hired for a position in which that person handles district funds or inventory. I think that sentence should remain. And are there any questions about that policy? Like I said, it's just the first reading. You can bring it back for a second. Second policy is EEAB. It was adopted in 1990, re-adopted in 1991, so it's been a while. And this is about school bus scheduling and routing. And it's specific.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Because
I would find that in my package.
It's not on the agenda. Or is,
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
go ahead.
Ginger, I'm trying to run through it under the January 2022 link that Diane gave. So are we in different orders then? First
No,
I have the same.
I am taking a look. I think, well, I see the issue. It is not on the agenda. So let's just pull that for now. It's on the OSBA update, but for some reason it's not on the agenda. As I'm reviewing it here, it should be right under DH. So we will bring that back.
Okay,
On the agenda, so let's just drop that for now.
thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to GBA AR. This updates the language for veterans preference and hiring practices. Last revised in 2016. Rationale for the change, there's a change in terminology about eligibility for veterans preferences. For example, in the past, it was after you had already completed your service or already out. Now you can apply for veterans preference while you're still in and have 6 months before you're out. So you can seek employment under veterans preference prior to actually being discharged. So that's, and then it also removes gender terminology, calling the veteran an individual instead of the he, she. And it suggests that you have a way in which you score based on a percentage rather than a preference. So it asks you to numerically value the veteran's preference in a different way. The recommendations look good, so I recommend adopting the revisions as they are. They're fine. The new ones are very good. Any questions about that? Okay. Next one is GBL. Adopted September 8th of 20, we adopted, again, that date is not correct. Adopted 9/8 of 1980. There we go. Readopted 6/22/20. Rationale for the change combines two policies. With the revision, a single policy covers topics in both policies. So its efficiency makes more sense. My recommendation is to adopt the revisions to policy GBL and delete policy GBLA. This is about personnel records. Forgot to note at the very top of the sheet, in January 22 policy update. No policy changes are identified by OSBA as having an impact on our existing collective bargaining agreements. And beyond that, I also screened to make sure that if there was an article that may have been in, that I looked at the article to ensure that they were consistent. Okay.
Did have one question, if I might, on this one. Well, so where it says, well, I guess on all of them, where it says sample model policy, I guess I was a little confused about the title.
GBL?
Above that.
Yeah, where it says OSBA model sample policy, I mean, if, I guess I was thinking that if we're adopting these as district policies, that we wouldn't have, you know, a model sample policy title on it, but I may be confused about why it's there.
When we get to the,
Oh.
go ahead,
This is Diane. I can explain that.
Diane, go ahead. Oh, I see that you're on it. Thank you. Okay.
So Richard, when they send these out, the title up there does say a model sample policy. So when they send it to all districts, once you adopt it, we send them back to OSBA and they will update it with our North Marion School District logo and then upload it to our website where all of our policies are kept.
Okay, super, thank you.
That's what I was going to say, because Diane has trained me. Next one. GCBDA/GBDDA -AR1.
Can I ask a quick question regarding the last one really quick?
Sure.
Do we have a AR for that GBL? Because the disclosure of information doesn't look like it's covered on the one that they put together, or am I missing it?
There are two components to that.
Yeah, because one says delete, but then I didn't see an AR for the GBL. The GBLA that used to be there has a lot of like date references and like knowingly fault, no later than 20 days, all that stuff. So they're taking all of that out? Or is there an AR that goes with that document that maybe we aren't ready yet to have? You know what I'm saying?
When the information that's here in our current GBLA, where they ask us to delete it, is because they add it to the language of GBL. It's built into GBL.
Okay, it just doesn't sound the same, so maybe they wanted that out of their requested pieces, because it just doesn't sound like it's in there. But maybe the OAR is changed.
Yeah, it's in.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about, like all the dates and the times?
Yeah, I see that 20 days in there.
Yeah.
In a different spot, and then it's kind of summarized under number 11.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
It's really condensed.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that isn't like an AR issue. This is just a,
Yeah.
okay, just double checking, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Good question. Okay, and the next one. Are the family leave. Oregon Family Leave is the new title because they changed it. Updates the language to reflect eligibility changes made by the 2021 legislature. So all the changes that are recommended are because of the legislative changes that were made. Reviewed Article 23 of the UNE contract to be sure it is compatible with the new policy as OSBA recommends, so I did that. My recommendation is to adopt the revisions as well. Okay. Then the next one is, any questions about that, first of all? That's a long policy, so you know why just take some time to read through it. Let me know when you want me to go ahead.
So it used to be, because I see it saying FMLA still in here, which is the federal. And then I see the OFLA.
Mhm.
So is this just combining both of those?
It's,
Because I see the FMLA and then I see the OFLA. So they just essentially changed the title so it wasn't just federal.
right,
Both was also covered in the next.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not called OFA. But I guess it is called OFA.
Very good.
What, oh, here, no. Footnote number 12.
what page?
Um,
Oh, here it is, 9.
I don't know.
It says poster available. The footnote number 12, I see, says the poster is available fully.
No, it's under like the page that has paid, unpaid leave, benefits and insurance.
With 11-16.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
11-16.
11-16. I don't
You're actually
get
the
it.
footnote.
Yeah, I don't understand. What does that mean? We have to pick one of these options in that paragraph?
11 to 16, and 12. Okay, so,
We did have this previously when we did
Yes.
our,
yes,
yeah, we did, didn't we?
yeah,
So, but we have to select one of those,
yes,
right?
yes.
What,
And we
what
can,
did it used to say?
well, let's
Or-
take a look. We have, the green is our existing.
I don't see green on mine.
I don't either.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Maybe in here it's in green. But I know we specifically
Yes,
had discussed
and
that.
we should probably continue with what we selected for that. 11, 16. Oh, now it's 11, 15.
Yeah, those are very different options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
I guess I didn't realize it was an employer specific option.
Yeah. I know that we had discussion about it the last time actually, I think it was right before the COVID thing, during it.
Yeah, you can see where existing policy is on that.
I can't.
Oh, you can't? You don't
No.
have- Okay. The paragraph reads in the existing policy.
Mm-hmm.
The district requires the employee to use any approved sick leave, vacation, or personal leave days or other paid time established by board policies and or collective bargaining agreement in the order specified by the district and before taking FMLA and or OFLA leave without pay for the leave period. The employee may select the order in which the paid leave is used. So that's
Mhm.
That's the important sentence, is that the employee may select the
Select.
order in which, because we want the employee to have, to make it work.
So that's the third option in this.
Option three.
Okay,
Same thing occurs on 7-9 in the next policy, exactly the same. So we need to,
So that other language should be struck.
yes, it has to be struck.
Yeah,
Options 1
Yeah,
and 2 need to be struck.
we will select that when we fill it in.
okay.
Okay.
And then this page 1616 is just removed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No more.
Okay. Is there another summary for employees or that's, because that's what this is, right?
Mhm.
Is there a new summary or not? They need to just reference the
Yes,
policy.
there's a poster available.
Okay,
There's one from the Department of Labor, film law posters, and the other is from Oregon Bowling, required worksite postings.
okay.
It's just the very bottom, there's 2 sentences that, or, no, one sentence. Well, they didn't strike for additional information, never mind. Okay, I got it. Disregard that one last time.
I have a quick question on the medical certification. How long, maybe I missed this, but the highlighted gray says the district mayor shall require an eligible employee to provide medical documentation on appropriate to support the stated reason for such leave, other than to care for a child who requires home care due to the closure of the child's school or child care provider as a result of a public health emergency. So how long are they eligible for that? Is it the full 12 weeks?
Mhm.
And that's new to the OARs?
Mhm.
Let's see.
Mhm. And then, we ask for return to duty when there's a health issue, just to be sure that the person is capable of coming back teaching full time. We don't necessarily do it all the time, like if you're have a childcare situation or a child health care situation, we don't ask for a fitness of duty
Mhm.
letter from your doctor to come back, it just wouldn't make sense, so. But it makes sense, we do that, so. It's more of a shall language
Okay.
to give us flexibility. Or I may, not shall. We may ask, but sometimes we won't. Because it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So IEPs were big in this legislative session. Yeah,
Oh, so OPLA, we're just acknowledging that on 7-9,
yeah,
we make the same choice.
so the next one's about IEPs, and the House passed a bill, the Senate passed a bill, and the Oregon Department of Education revised the Oregon Administrative Rule on IEPs. And the short version is that the students starting at the age of 14 should be provided information about vocational training, operating skills as part of their IEP review. It also highlights that it's important that required now on page 5. We have to provide information for students who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing about services or placement, including ESD, regional programs, or working school. Yeah. Which we do anyway, but I guess they want to make sure that everyone's doing that. And then the next page, 6A, has the vocational planning information. And training resources. And I think E is the big point, to make sure that, you know, the goal is to promote self-determination and independence. And that's something we think about even in our system. The older the students are, the more independent they become when adults step back and allow them to learn how to do anything independently at their level. You know, it's an important step in their development. Students who receive a significant amount of adult help as they're becoming adults themselves, and then they leave school and they don't receive that same amount of adult help, they struggle in the transition. So the goal is to promote independence and confidence and give students the opportunities to learn here how to be independent before they leave and leave the school system entirely.
So on page 6-8, the first big block that's highlighted an I, mine's red for some reason anyways, but the other paragraphs talk about information given to the student and parents, but this one just talks about information given to parents. Should we change that so it's regarding employment planning, the parent shall be provided information about parent and student?
That's a good question.
Is there a
Let
reason why
me-
it's not?
Let me consult with OSBA about why the word student isn't involved in that. Wasn't included in that.
Yeah. And I guess more just a general comment about, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what we would replace with, but the students' parents are continually referenced in here, and some students might not have a parent that's doing this role, so.
Yeah,
Good point.
yeah,
I feel like that's, could be worded differently.
Parent party.
yeah, good point. Yeah, it could be grandparent, could be guardian,
Right,
could be older brother.
yeah, whoever is helping in this role. It would be nice if it didn't say parent,
Right.
in my opinion, but,
Yeah, I'm happy to send
okay.
that information back. That's a good point. And then the last one for today is IGBB, which is talented and gifted. which actually had a significant change.
Did we skip or did we roll the others?
She addressed them both.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the idea. Okay. So. IGBB, we adopted the policy in 2004. And it hasn't been reviewed since then. So this is timely. OSBA Rationale for Change 2021 legislature again. Passed a bill requiring parents and students to be given the opportunity to review TAG program and to provide input on the programs overall and the services to be made available to students. And provide contact information for the special education TAG coordinators directly to parents. And this is the last line, requires the superintendent to write the plan for the identification of gifted students. So adopted as it is, that would be a task that I would need to complete next year. In consultation with people in the district that also have, I have a master's in TAG, but there are other people who have been working it longer than I.
Do we have a time for that?
Yes. But the fact that you asked the question, yep, is very indicative.
Well, I know I was contacted in 2020, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yes, yes. So there have been disruptions to the system. So, already fragile state. Yeah.
I don't really know what this means, this second highlighted paragraph that starts with the plan will be provided. What plan?
The tag,
Tag plan.
the tag identification plan.
So that's the
responsible for.
identification plan, not the implementation plan? Or,
No, it's the plan that they're talking about is, or are you, oh, wait, let me find the exact sentence. that you're talking about. You're
Oh,
talking
no,
about,
I see your point
Yeah.
out, I reread that, the plan shall be developed that identifies programs and services needed to address the assessed levels of learning, okay, so that is the identification. Because you're talking about the plan of assessing the level of learning and accelerated rates of learning.
yes, are we talking
Right,
about
of
the
identified
student
students.
plan, or are we talking about the district's plan? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's just a floating pronoun of, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. So I think we should write it more specific to what we actually want to put on the district's webpage.
yeah, I thought this could be.
Well, so I also don't, I don't know, when you read the policy, it's just sort of talks about, we're gonna have a process to identify students. Is what I'm getting from this, but that it doesn't,
Right,
then great, so we
And now
identify
what?
them, so what?
yeah, there's one,
Right,
You
so,
see that?
but we don't actually say we're gonna do anything once we've identified students. I don't like that.
Yeah, I believe that this is supposed to facilitate a conversation between that links the identification in the program by engaging the families. And in our identification processes, we look at students from different backgrounds and assess in different ways. We have not grown the program as much as we could have, or expanded on it.
Not sure you can be prescriptive on this.
Right.
The different
No, I
districts have
know.
so many different
Yeah.
opportunities
Right.
available to them that it's hard. to
Right.
Yeah.
prescriptive.
I can't put a box around it, or not every student would have the same box. So there's a lot of,
Right,
but the plan to identify students and develop an experience for that student, a beneficial learning experience plan for that student is the most important part.
Right, and
So-
just saying that is better than saying, we'll identify students.
Right.
We'll identify them and then
Yeah.
we will develop a plan. That's better than just saying, we'll pick them out.
It kind of says you're gonna have a plan to identify services needed,
Right.
right? So, yeah, that's that.
Yeah, and that's taking into account the level at which a student operates, the nature of the giftedness of the student, and the pace or the rate at which they learn in a manner that allows them to retain and build upon prior knowledge. Because a lot of kids will do it fast and they forget. So it's more about what's the right pace for retention and building upon.
To me, it opens the door for it, and this suffers from the same parent comment you made last one.
Yes.
For that family engagement to look at what the plan or what is stated as should be needed and what's available, and that gap is then at the family level to determine what to do. That's the way I read the legislator's intent here.
It would be nice if we had to fill that gap, student advocate, something that could help.
A properly funded state school fund, so we could actually fill that gap.
I was kidding.
Well, I'm saying, you know, that I don't want it to become, here's the information we found. Families, you now go advocate to get these needs that we've identified, right? It should be then, still should be a school function to advocate to fill the needs that have been identified, not we just give the info to the family.
Yeah, and I would say on this particular topic, there's nothing more important than a conversation about teaching and learning. And having a teacher recognize who is in the room and what they bring and what they can contribute, and building a response about their whatever level of giftedness they have into, that's part of the equation of the teacher doing their magic and providing those, creating those opportunities, planning those opportunities, using your best practices, high leverage learning opportunities that they know will yield results in a way that's interesting and engaging and powerful for that student. And do the same for every other student in the room. And that's the magic. Teaching and learning. Bill, would you like to add anything to that conversation? This narrative?
Yeah, we've kind of been on the ground floor of developing tag program plans for district. I think that's the language that I might, I think the language as it is, it's hard to tell whether they're talking about student plans, which you wouldn't post on a website, or program plans. And so we kind of use the language of tag program plans. And then you would, much like we do in special education, you in essence have describe what your program is, what processes would be available for identification, what processes would be available for parents, students, and families to consider their program options for different students. It is one of the characteristics of talented and gifted is that every child is different in terms of their gifts and talents, and also what would actually be the appropriate program for them. So those processes for engaging and having those conversations are important. What a program plan would generally do would really talk about from kindergarten on what types of traits and characteristics, behaviors, aptitudes and abilities you start to look for. You'd have a referral process of teachers or parents or children advocating for themselves could refer, for whatever assessment, might come in the future to continue to look at that. It all would require, like it would require, like we do in special education, there would actually be a parent handbook, you know, that would help to outline all of these types of things and be made available. Those are things that would be the tag program plan, the parent handbook, those types of things would be on the website and accessible. Generally, you would have some, you know, as students become engaged in the program, you might have some an advisory, a parent advisory, you know, that you would continue to work with along those things and other types of communication systems. There, yeah, along with this, you know, like other things, is the continued learning of staff. There are multiple types of giftedness that we identify for, and you know what it looks like and sounds like in the classroom, and you know and how we work with that is slightly different. So that's another opportunity to kind of think about our repertoire of the strategies as Superintendent Redlinger said for that. So you know, I know we have tag advocates and in essence tag coordinators in our buildings, and I think this is an opportunity to, like so many things we're doing, to refresh those systems and redefine what those programs look like.
Yeah, the timing of the calls couldn't be any better. Gives us an opportunity to crack that open and work with it. Okay. Anything, any other questions?
I have a comment. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Okay. I just find it unfortunate that that we can't approach TAG just kind of in the same way that we approach SPED, where I mean, there are specific mandates about, you know, developing an IEP, an individual education plan for each student, and the parents and number of staff are involved in that. Whereas with TAG, it just seems to be kind of like, well, it's kind of dependent on, honestly, on staff to kind of, sometimes some of them are great on being on top of it, but sometimes kids fall through the cracks on that. And, you know, unless if the parent's not a strong advocate, it can, it kind of ends up being not real equitable for some students, if I'm making any sense. Also in the budgeting process, those students aren't weighted like SPED kids are. So there's really not much of an incentive to support them like in the same way. That's all I have to say.
I would agree with you, Heidi, that even as a strong advocate, I didn't see any value in that.
I literally wrote down right before Heidi commented, like meeting updates, like IEP. Like there should be, it would be great to have regular updates as you go through every year, you know, but also like Heidi said, where's the money for that? And giving the resources to the classroom teacher to do that, to get the resources, physical resources, or whatever they need to develop that, you know, those are not, maybe they need new skills, maybe they need refreshers, maybe they need actual physical resources, I don't know.
Well, I will say though that in dealing with that, it was quite a while ago. Is it Kelly that still teaches accounting?
Sure.
Like she had changed the accounting from us to like an accelerated 4 to 5 week course so that all 4 accountings could be completed in 1 year. And then preferential scheduling. So it's not, and that preferential scheduling was for the college classes so that they would already have tested into them and were able to complete them at lower grade levels. So I don't think it's always about money. It's just about that educational component to the staff on how can you support TEG students.
But she double classes that, which is going above and beyond to
Yeah,
make that happen.
yeah, exactly. And that was a TEG support.
Yeah, I'm just saying that she goes
Yeah.
above and beyond to make not everybody's willing to do that.
Right.
You could also, we've talked about AP classes, other curriculum like that, that would kind of help address these issues.
For me, this is, this just identifies one of the major systemic issues we have in our legislative environment, which is they only care about one metric, which is graduation rate. And TAG is going to graduate. So they're only interested in investing on those that aren't going, or not on track for graduating. So that's where they dump their money, because there's only one metric that they follow. And TAG kids are already, they're gonna meet that metric. So they get zero attention. And it's a systemic issue in the way we legislate.
I think there are probably kids who would qualify for TAG who maybe don't fit in that bucket too.
How you define TAG is very
Right.
unclear.
Right. And
As
that
you
we're
said,
probably missing kids
Yeah.
who
Right.
are very gifted and are totally disengaged because they're not challenged,
Understood.
right?
Yeah, it's-
And so then there are behavioral problems or lack of,
Won't turn in their homework.
yeah, I mean, because it's,
Or they
and so not having a program does hurt graduation, if you look at it from that, depending,
Not-
but it's not,
not
I
in a
agree,
large
yeah,
factor.
right,
Very
Yeah.
clear
right.
When you're doing millions of
Right.
dollars property.
Right, and so
That's
some
not
of that gets back to screening, right? So if we're screening kids then we shouldn't just be looking at grades, right? That shouldn't be,
Right.
But that's what-
or classroom performance, it should be.
in the
right.
education environment.
And so-
I used
So
to-
how are we gonna identify those
I used to
kids?
administer the kindergarten readiness assessment. And the students that I talked to would get the answer, it would be correct. And then I would say, how did you know it was this one and not this one? And they tell this story that had nothing to do with why it was right, but they got the answer right. So the kindergarten readiness assessment said that they were way prepared. I was like, no, I talked to that kid. They just guessed, right? And I actually have had that happen with high school students as well. I get, hey, this kid had, they did really well and they scored high on the test. So I'm differentiating, giving them this. Hey, you really, apparently do really well in math, so I'm going to give you this. It's a special way to do this. And they're like, I totally guessed on the test. I really know. I hate math. Oh, and I was like, no, you don't. Can't hate that. I never said that in that question. But some of them, the information we have doesn't really reflect because we don't really have the time and the opportunity to get to know them as learners. And that's the time I like to give back to teachers, is the time to know them and to be able to teach them as they are ready and able and engaged. I mean, that's the hard part. The engagement piece. So, enough about that. Okay, anything else? Not, I'm done. We'll keep.
I have something. My hand's raised. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Diane.
Thank you. This kind of addresses Christie's question. And I just want to refer back to the policy of IGBAF AR. I don't know if Linda can show that real quick. It's kind of hidden, but I want to refer to the terminology parent. In all of our policies, the term parent includes a legal guardian or a person in a parental relationship, and it's coded by 2 asterisks. So if you see that there in your packet on the title of the policy, you'll have 2 little asterisks. In all of our policies across the board, it does refer to the person in a parental relationship.
I see the double asterisk, but I don't see the reference to the.
I'm not sure that it really mentions it on each policy, But like on our website at the bottom of it or the top of it, it will refer to the double asterisk. It also states the ORSs that are involved on that. So if you go to the title of that, Linda, go on the top. And I agree, you know, the general public is not going to know what that means. But when you go look up our policies, it will show you that that term means a legal guardian or person in the parental relationship. And then it also defines the ORS that's related to it.
Are you saying that's on one of our policies right now?
It's on all of our policies, the ones that include a definition of a parent.
Which policy has the definition of a parent? The worded definition of a parent.
I don't see. Here, okay, so.
It may not be worded on the policy, but what I'm trying to tell you is in the table of contents of all of our policies, it will reference the double asterisk, and it tells the reader that what that means. So it defines, it's used in the policy, the term parent includes legal guardian or person in a parental relationship.
Okay. Let's try to define that, and we'll bring it back for the second reading of these policies to share with everyone, because that's very interesting information, Diane. Thank you.
And she just attached with TOC for all of our policies to the, and we'll see all the references that are going on.
Yeah.
It's likely that it comes out of the OER,
Yeah.
the definitions in the OER.
Right.
Actually, though, when you do pull up the table of contents and you look at all of the policies that we have, it does stipulate right there the double asterisk with the. But I mean, we should say, please refer to the table of contents somewhere on the policy, because if you just have a printed one floating, then nobody's gonna.
Or if you just pull up the one policy. Yeah.
I just don't, why wouldn't it just be easier to write guardian in all of the policy and take out the asterisk on all of them? But that's like a whole nother discussion.
I think that's because there actually could be someone besides the guardian also in a parental relationship.
Right,
parental role.
Yeah.
Would have a lot of slashes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Diane.
We want to do a blanket first reading. Anybody have a problem with doing the first reading blanket?
I was gonna say, are there any of these we can take action?
One biggie, right? Any issues on the line, online, if we do one blanket first reading motion?
Well, do we need those pieces corrected before we do the first
No,
reading?
well, we've asked staff to
Okay.
get us more information before second reading. Right? To bring those questions to the second reading. Which is kind of the purpose of having two readings, so. You got all the questions that we have there. Richard and I, any comments on that concept? If so, I'm gonna make a long read here. Maybe I should repeat what I did. Can you hear me? Right.
Bill, did you mention my name?
Okay, that tells me to speak up.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know if anybody had any objections. I'm about to make a one long-winded motion for first reading of these policies. If anybody had any objections to that before I make the motion.
No objection here, thanks.
Quick question, are we just doing first reading or first reading and adoption?
First reading, because we asked several questions that staff needs to get back to us on before second reading and adoption.
Okay, thank you.
All right, here we go. I'll make a motion that we accept for first reading the following policies: EH, GBA-AR, GBL, GBLA, GCBDA/GDBDA-AR1, GCBDA/GDBDA-AR1, second part, or two, IGBAF-AR, IGBAG-AR, IGBB. So that's it.
And
And over.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. This will be we'll do roll call on this, Bill.
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crystal,
I,
Heidi,
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
Vote for, that motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for reading them all out.
Diane, do you still have your hand raised, or you have something else you want to add?
Nope, sorry.
Okay. Just thought I'd check.
So that's the end of our agenda. Can you talk to the timeline on the strategic planning just a little bit, when you expect it to be to the board, or do you want to, I guess Bill's gone already, but.
I believe it will be mid or towards the end of May.
Okay,
Yeah, that we have one more meeting where we finalize what we're giving to the board.
Mhm.
And then that's coming, I believe that's mid-May or end of May. I'll need to check my timeline.
okay.
So is that on the agenda here? Is that the May 17th? Is that an actual meeting for us, or is that's the
May
strategic
17th.
planning team?
Yeah, so. I think it may be, oh, it doesn't make sense. I'm gonna have to ask to confirm that date. It looks like the 17th draft district strategic goals for board consideration. So that tells me that I'm seeing you about strategic planning between the 17th and the 26th. So,
So we're having something. Yeah,
and
that'd
I'm
be good.
meeting with Jerry on the 28th, so I will email you on the 28th.
20th of this month,
Yes,
or next month, okay.
yes, yes.
Okay. I just want to give our group enough time to walk
Yeah,
through things and look through things and provide.
yes,
Yeah, because that's only like a week. If like we get it on the 17th and they want to implement something on the 26th.
no, it won't be. The implementation team are a subset. The people that we're currently working with on strategic planning help develop mission and vision.
Mhm.
It will be a different group that
Okay.
takes the mission and vision information and starts to say, well, how do we develop indicators that will measure progress in these areas? So that's what they start thinking about. That's a different team, a smaller subset. So that's
So we have to agree on the goals before they
right.
can do that.
Yeah, that was my.
Fine tune them, yes. Yeah. So that's why I think you're going to see something like on the 18th or 19th. What that looks like in the format, I don't know if that's a meeting.
Yeah.
I'll find out on the 20th. I think it was going to be on the calendar. Diane, are you still there?
I am.
You happen to have the calendar for strategic planning and have the next board meeting on that calendar date?
I do not. You mean like for June?
Yeah, it could be in May as well. All right, I will find out.
Yes, actually, I do have the calendar, and no, there is nothing in May. May 17th is the uh, strategic planning team where they're going to work on the goals for the board. And then May 26th, which I don't think has been selected enough, is the district implementation team. And that is going to be their all-day thing. Following the May 26th is when I believe they'll report to the board. I don't remember seeing a specific additional board meeting in May for that.
All right,
Bill Rhodes, have you heard differently?
Bill has left. He had another appointment to get to.
We have budget meetings in May as well.
We do, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
What do you have?
We want to protect that time. Okay,
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
schedule for that. so.
okay. So don't add anything in May. Give us stuff to look at in May. and then
Well,
we'll
I think,
see.
yeah, I think there's a robust hunger for getting that information sooner rather than later, so.
Well, especially if you're gonna meet on implementing something that we haven't seen yet.
Anybody else having anything else, question wise?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Heidi.
We haven't been able to really see any kind of academic data measurements or metrics kind of this year. I mean, we kind of have heard circumstantial things, but and I don't even know what kind of testing has gone on this year per se. I'm just curious if there's any way that we could get kind of an update on that.
Yes. We can do that.
State testing is ongoing right now.
Yes, it is.
It's happening right now.
Mhm.
That would be great to see results. It could be raw, just raw data. It doesn't have to be, but if we could just get some indication before we break for the summer.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And we're busy making plans for helping seniors that might need a little extra time to graduate. And summer school. To help kids do some learning recovery. So those are our big pushes right now, is what staff are working on, planning wise. But I think if I ask for some data, they can start pulling that together.
I'm not sure you know this off the top of your head. Do we know, is graduation gonna be back at Rolling Hills?
It is at Rolling Hills, but I was just gonna ask, what is the board's role in graduation
Yeah.
this year? Are we doing our normal Rolling Hills thing?
And if so, what is that?
Well, we all sit
Yeah.
on stage and wave and
We don't have to
Give
do, what does the board want to? What is-
I'm good with what we always used to do, but I'm also not going to dictate what needs to be done, right? Like, because I can't, but I'm happy being on stage, even that, everybody knows that.
What's the date?
The Friday the 10th-ish,
Yeah.
whatever that Friday is, right around the 10th. If we were gonna be restricted, I was gonna ask Diane if she could sneak me a ticket this side, but if we're gonna be on stage, since I found out it is at Rolling Hills, then I might have to buy a new seat because COVID has.
I don't mean to just throw this at you, if
No.
people can, can attend,
Yeah,
I would like to see them be able to be engaged in that if they so choose. It's not a requirement, but honestly, it's the best part of the job.
That's my point, for me anyways, right, because I know.
For me, it really,
I
it's the most
interact with
gratifying
them.
part of, being on school board is being able to be there and send kids.
Plus I've practiced this for 10 years.
Hey, Glenn, this comment. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to mention that, some of us haven't participated in commencement at North Marion before. And so, we'll just need to understand kind of what the program looks like and how we're going to be involved or not.
Sure. So on a typical commencement prior to COVID, we, when we're at Rolling Hills, there is a seat on the stage for every board member who wants to attend. You don't have to attend, it's not a requirement. But you know, you're up there on stage. You generally help with passing out diplomas and acknowledging individually, you know, the graduates as they come through. Not sure that could be a handshake or not, depending on what's, you know, what's kosher at that point. But it's a really, really good experience.
And if you have a graduate, you will be shoveled up to give your graduate the diploma yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the person who knows the absolute most about all of this and has done an amazing job of making it a wonderful event is Deanne.
Yeah.
And I was just going to send her an email saying, please send the board information not only about graduation, but all the other senior events. Awards night and all different things, so that you could all attend those as well, because that's part of the joy of being a volunteer, being, you know, I would double your salary if I could.
You need to go back to math class.
Just for, also for those who've never done this before, my favorite phrase, this is not a Victorian love fest, so you don't have to go into your closets or boxes and find your old graduation rose. Right, you just show up in a tie or nice dress, right?
Yeah. So Deanne happened to
no-
text me,
no
and she
ropes.
said, I'll explain to him, she'd be happy to meet with you, she'd be happy to talk with you. But I'm gonna ask her to send the board an email about all the events.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. And I'm happy to participate however you would like us to participate. I'll just need more than like, hey, we're gonna do the same thing we did last year or year before, you know.
Are you interested in participating?
It'll kind of be a crapshoot, it just depends on how the schedule falls.
How about you? Are you interested?
I am interested,
Okay,
but also we'll have to.
oh, absolutely,
Be
I
a little
completely understand,
flexible.
yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's not, I mean, you know, if you can't make it, it's completely
Yeah,
okay, it's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
you know, we've had, you know, people are doing stuff, and so.
I'll drink the bottle of water that's in your chair.
Okay, I am planning to be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes plans go awry.
Sure.
What about also, Ginger, your comment about senior staff, I was thinking, are there other like 8th grade graduation things, or I don't remember what the other
End of the year
schools
celebrations,
do.
yeah.
I don't remember what the other schools do, moving buildings.
There's like a 5th grade promotion, there's an 8th grade
Walk up
thing, and there's,
The graduate walk.
I wanna say there is a 2nd grade something, but it's really the 5th and 8th.
Yeah, the senior walk is
The
really
senior
cool.
walk. is the-
Yeah, that kind of stuff would be really helpful.
I would say the senior walk is my favorite when they go, the seniors go to the kindergarten.
Yeah.
Primary building.
And senior walls at May Day,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
that's probably one of the best traditions in North America.
Mhm.
So.
Cool.
Are
Fun
you
stuff.
familiar with that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, it's,
Yeah.
getting parents involved is tough sometimes, and that event is, it's a lot of parent involvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back to fun stuff. So yeah, it would be helpful to have a sort of a consolidated list.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
One
Calendar.
more general comment. So I spent Friday and Saturday in Eugene at the OSBA Legislative Policy Meeting. The session starts in January, but bills get written in August and September. So if you have things you want me to advocate for, I would need to know that by end of August. I can bring back and tell you what is happening by, you know, in September, where they're heading for, but just know that the session starts in January, but the work starts in September before that, to make that happen. This is gonna be really the oddest legislative session in 50 years. The average tenure, there'll be almost more than a third of the legislator will have less than 2 years. It's 2 years or less experience. The longest person in the House has 12 years. You know, this is going to be very much an educate your legislator session more than it will be what you would typically hear when we had, you know, a lot of senior people who knew how stuff worked, right? So prepare for the unexpected coming in this coming legislative session. It will be very, very different, right? Plus the fact that we'll have the governor on top of that, whoever that might be. So it's going to be an odd next year.
Let's make our Santa Claus list.
Because the last few were playing.
Well, no, the last few were odd, but they were predictably odd, you know, in the fights. Now we have no idea
Yeah.
what this legislative session is gonna have, right?
The other thing is, I don't know, I just want to remind everybody, you're more than welcome to OSBA State Convention or,
Oh, the summer board conference.
Conference,
Signed
so,
up, so I'll be there.
yeah, I'm planning on attending. It's the, I think, 8th, 9th, and 10th of July, is that right?
Mhm.
It's the weekend after the 4th of July, so. And we have rooms, we have some rooms blocked out already, so if you guys have not, you know, signed up, be sure to contact Diane, so.
Plus one night, we usually pick a real good place. Dinner and bed.
I wrote it down. Send my Santa Claus list to Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what the bill's gonna be outside of, I think most of the attention will just be on teaching people current service level and state school fund and how taxation works, to be honest. The rest of the stuff will just get washed away.
I'm hoping there'll be a session on parents' rights,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of case law on parents' rights.
Yeah.
And I think the push coming forward, there's been some, the Coastal Law Conference, they did some presentations. I think that would be a good, either retreat topic for us as well, or even an OSBA topic.
Tone will be
It
set
helps
by
to
the
know what the
governor.
boundaries are, so
Yeah.
that people don't, because if you don't know what they are, you don't know, got over them, or what's possible or not possible.
And you're gonna get to, well, whoever the new governor is gonna get their priorities mid-January after the session's already started.
Yes,
So
true.
that, then the whole thing changes in the middle.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, like that. But yeah, that's what we talked about in Eugene, along with, the redefinition of current service level is being negotiated. So,
All right, it is 7:29 and I will gavel us down at the end. Thank you guys for coming.
Everyone.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Heidi.
Bye-bye.